All right, let's dive into the world of intermittent fasting 168. We're talking all about 168, for weight loss and maybe get a handle on those hunger pangs and, just feel healthier overall.
Exactly.
We've got this awesome guide here with meal plans and recipes, so no worries there.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this one. It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, we know there's just so much info out there about dieting. It's easy to get overwhelmed.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to kind of cut through all that noise and get to what makes this 168 thing really work.
Awesome. That's what we're here for.
So I think most people have at least heard of intermittent fasting. But what makes 168 different?
Well, the fascinating thing about 168 is you're not changing what you eat.
Okay.
You're changing when you eat. So it's the strategic cycling, between the periods of eating and fasting.
Okay, so it's not like a traditional diet, like you're cutting out certain foods.
No.
It's more about timing. But how does that actually lead to weight loss and all those other benefits people talk about?
It's really pretty amazing, the science behind it. When you fast, you're giving your body a break, from digesting food all the time.
Okay.
And that lets it focus on other things, like repairing cells and getting rid of toxins.
So it's kind of like a reset button for your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that happens is this thing called autophagy.
Autophagy.
Yeah. It basically means self-eating. So when you're fasting, your body starts breaking down and recycling old cell parts.
It's like taking out the trash.
Yeah, exactly.
So how does all that connect to weight loss, especially like belly fat, which everyone wants to get rid of?
Well, when you fast, your insulin levels go down.
Okay.
And insulin is what tells your body to store fat.
Oh, I see.
So with lower insulin, your body's more likely to burn fat for energy, especially that visceral fat around your organs.
Interesting. So it's not just eating less, it's changing how our body uses energy.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. And I know people are always talking about all these extra benefits, beyond just losing weight.
Right. It can improve your sleep, how your body handles blood sugar, even reduce the risk of some chronic diseases. Studies are showing all this stuff.
Okay, I'm starting to get why people are so into this.
Yeah.
So 168, the name kind of gives it away.
Right.
But break down that daily schedule. What's it actually look like?
So it's 16 hours of fasting, followed by 8 hours where you can eat.
Okay.
I know 16 hours sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But it's honestly more manageable than you think, and
Yeah.
you can adjust that eating window to fit your life.
So say you work a typical 9 to 5, you could eat like noon to 8 p.m.
Exactly. Or if you're working nights, you could shift it later, like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. The point is to find what works for you.
And this is where hydration and exercise are super important, right? How do those fit into 168?
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated all day long. Fasting or eating, doesn't matter. Water helps with your energy, controls your appetite. It's crucial. And exercise, even if it's just moderate stuff, can really boost those 168 benefits, especially when it comes to burning fat.
Okay, let's talk about what everyone's waiting for, the food. Can you actually eat during that 8-hour window?
That's the exciting part. 168 isn't about deprivation. You don't have to eat bland, boring meals.
That's a relief. So it's not restrictive, it's more about timing. What are some of the foods to enjoy that our guide here highlights? Something our listeners would really love.
Well, how do choco chip whey waffles sound for breakfast?
Okay, not bad.
And for a protein-packed dinner, you could go for a roasted ribeye skillet steak.
Waffles and steak. I'm liking this already. What about dessert? Is that off the table?
Not at all. You could have chilled cream or something like that. It's about making healthy choices, choices that work towards your goals.
All right, so there are probably some concerns about IF. What myths should we debunk right away?
Oh, absolutely. A big one is starvation mode. People think skipping meals will wreck their metabolism.
Okay, so will our bodies freak out and start hoarding every calorie?
That's a total misconception. Our bodies are way more adaptable. Short-term fasting, like 168, doesn't trigger starvation mode.
That's good to know. What about losing muscle mass?
That's a valid concern, but you're more likely to lose muscle if you're cutting calories overall, not just fasting for a while.
So as long as you're eating enough protein and all that good stuff during those eating windows and exercising regularly.
You'll be just fine. Actually, there's research showing that combining 168 with resistance training can actually help you even build muscle.
So it's not as scary as it sounds.
Not at all. It's actually pretty flexible.
Okay, so we've covered the basics. What are some hacks to help our listeners actually make this 168 thing work for them?
One of the most valuable things is journaling. Keep track of your progress. Reflect on any challenges, even just jot down how you feel. It can really motivate you and give you a lot of insight.
So it's kind of like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
Yeah, exactly. You see your patterns, things that make you break your fast early or eat things you shouldn't.
And that helps you make better choices.
Right. And our guide suggests not just tracking what you eat, but how you feel. Before, during, after.
So you can connect your emotions to your eating habits.
Yeah, it's about being more mindful of your hunger. Is it real, or are you just feeling something?
That makes sense. What else does our source suggest to help people stay on track?
Remember that brush your teeth earlier trick?
Yeah, brushing after your last meal, not right before bed.
Yeah.
Why is that so effective?
It's psychological. That minty freshness tells your brain, okay, no more eating. It helps with those late night cravings.
I love those little tricks.
Hmm.
So for people with busy lives, how do they make 168 work?
Plan ahead. Our source is big on meal prepping. Spend a couple of hours on the weekend, make your meals and snacks for the week. Saves you so much hassle and temptation during those fasting hours.
Okay, so you're set up for success, but what if you just can't find the time to meal prep? What then?
Meal delivery services can be a lifesaver. There are so many now focused on healthy meals with portion control and all.
It's like having a healthy personal chef.
Pretty much.
Okay, what about social events, where food is a big part of things? Birthdays, holidays, stuff like that. How do you do 168 then?
That's where communication is key. Be open with your friends and family. Let them know what you're doing and why it matters to you.
Set those boundaries respectfully, right?
Exactly. And maybe offer to bring something you can eat, something delicious and guilt-free. That way, you can still enjoy the event.
Yeah, find those win-win solutions. Speaking of challenges, what about setbacks?
Right, because let's face it, life happens. We might miss that eating window or just give in to a craving.
It happens to everyone. The key is to be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress.
Exactly. See it as a learning experience. Figure out what happened, adjust your strategy. That way, you're less likely to slip up again.
That's a good way to look at it. What about those days when you just don't feel motivated?
We all have those days.
Yeah, you wake up and you're just not feeling it. Our source says to keep a list of your reasons, your whys. Why did you start 168 in the first place?
Oh, so like weight loss, energy, health. Remind yourself of those goals.
Right. Write them down, keep them somewhere you can see them, and actually visualize yourself achieving those goals. It can be really powerful.
It helps you reconnect with the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's not just about skipping breakfast, it's about something more.
Exactly.
So we've talked about 168, but our source mentions other types of intermittent fasting too.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole world of fasting methods out there. Some are shorter fasts, some are longer.
So what's a good one to start with? Something maybe a little less intense than 168.
The 14-10 method is good for that. Basically, you fast for 14 hours, eat for 10.
So similar to 168, just a bit easier.
Yeah, it's great for beginners, or if 16 hours feels too tough to start.
And on the other end, we've got the 204 method.
That one's a little more intense. You fast for 20 hours, eat for 4.
Whoa, 20 hours? Who does that?
People who want a more aggressive approach to weight loss or have specific health goals. Definitely talk to your doctor before trying anything that extreme, though.
Good point. What about what you eat during that short window? Any restrictions?
The key with any fasting method is to eat nutritious foods, things that will keep you feeling full and energized. Lean protein, healthy fats, lots of fruits and veggies.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw the warrior method in our guide. It sounds intense.
It is. It's based on the idea that our ancestors went long periods without food.
We're tapping into our primal instinct.
Yeah. So you basically fast for 20 hours, then have one big meal at the end of the day.
Like a warrior returning from battle, ready to feast.
Exactly. Okay, what else? Oh, there's the 52 method. This one's different. You're not fasting every day.
Oh, how does that one work?
You pick 2 non-consecutive days a week and restrict your calories, usually to around 500 for each of those days.
So 5 days of regular eating and 2 mini fasts.
Right. And you might want to skip the intense workouts on those fasting days. Your energy might be lower. But things like walking or yoga are usually fine.
Good to know. I also saw the eat, stop, eat method.
That one's a full 24-hour fast, once or twice a week. It's a challenge, but some people find it easier than daily restrictions.
A whole day without food. Wow.
And then there's the alternate day method.
What's that one about?
You guessed it. You alternate between eating and fasting. Some people are strict about it, fasting every other day. Others are more flexible.
This is amazing. I had no idea there were so many ways to do intermittent fasting.
It's a whole buffet of options. That's what makes it so adaptable.
So many choices. But that can also feel a little overwhelming. Any advice for figuring out which method to try?
The important thing is to remember there's no one right way to do this. Experiment. Start with something that feels manageable and adjust as needed. Pay attention to your body, how you feel.
That makes sense. There were two more methods in our source that stood out. The spontaneous skipping method and the crescendo method. Those sound different.
They are. Spontaneous skipping is just what it sounds like. You skip meals here and there when you feel like it. No strict schedule.
So it's more intuitive?
Yeah, it's great if your schedule is unpredictable or you're just starting out and testing the waters.
Okay. What about the crescendo method?
With this one, you gradually increase how long you fast over time.
So you ease into it.
Exactly. It's good if you want to work up to longer fasts. Gives your body time to adjust.
Okay. This has been eye-opening. There's so much more to intermittent fasting than I thought. But let's switch gears and address some of the concerns and misconceptions.
Sounds good. Let's separate fact from fiction.
Let's tackle that starvation mode fear again.
Right, that one's persistent. People worry they'll slow down their metabolism if they don't eat for a few hours.
So is that true?
Not really. Our bodies can handle a lot more than we think. Short-term fasting, like most IF methods, won't put you in starvation mode.
Good to know. What about the myth that you'll lose muscle mass if you fast?
That's a common one, especially for active people. But muscle loss is usually about overall calorie restriction, not fasting itself.
So if you're getting enough protein and nutrients during those eating windows and you keep exercising, you're good.
Exactly. In fact, some studies show that combining IF with weight training can help you maintain or even build muscle.
That's reassuring. What about the idea that fasting will slow down your metabolism?
Another myth. Drastically cutting calories for a long time can affect your metabolism, but that's not what IF is about.
So it's strategic timing, not starvation. What about food choices? Any restrictions during those eating windows?
That's the beauty of F. It's more about when you eat, not so much what you eat. Of course, healthy choices are always best, but it itself doesn't have strict rules about specific foods.
So you can still enjoy a variety of foods as long as you stay within your eating window.
Absolutely. Find what works for you. Another myth I hear a lot is that there's only one right way to do IF.
Our source talks about that too. What's the truth?
The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for another. You have to experiment and find what fits your lifestyle, preferences, and goals.
So it's all about personalization. Some people say that fasting just isn't natural. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you think about it, throughout history, people haven't always had constant access to food. Our bodies are designed to handle periods of fasting.
So it's more like our modern-day abundance of food and snacking that's unnatural.
You could say that Shadif is a way of tapping back into our body's natural ability to adapt.
Wow, that's a new way to think about it. We've covered a lot. The science, the different methods, the myths. Our listeners must be feeling pretty informed by now.
I hope so, but there's one more piece we need to talk about. Making IF a sustainable part of your life. That's what we'll dive into next time. So making IF a sustainable part of your life. It's not just about understanding it. It's about making it work for you day to day, making it enjoyable too.
That's the key. So what are the secrets to making IF stick? What can people actually do?
Well, we've talked about it before, but journaling's huge.
Right.
Tracking your food, your mood, how you're feeling physically. It helps you stay accountable, gives you insights into your habits.
It's like you become this detective figuring out your own body.
Exactly. You see the patterns, what triggers you to slip up.
Okay, so journaling, got it.
Yeah.
What else should we be doing?
And don't forget those little wins. Each day you stick to your fasting window, that's a success. Celebrate that. It helps you keep going.
It's all about positive reinforcement, right?
Exactly. And that brush your teeth earlier hack, don't underestimate that.
Right. Brush after dinner, not before bed. It's so simple. But why does it work?
Because it's mental. Minty, fresh breath, it's like a signal to your brain eating time's over.
Okay, like drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah, exactly. It can really help with those nighttime cravings.
I like that. But for people who are super busy, how do you fit IF into a crazy schedule?
Plan ahead. Our guide really stresses meal prepping. Take a few hours on the weekend, plan out your meals, get everything ready for the week.
So you're not scrambling during the week, tempted to grab whatever's quick.
Exactly. It saves you time and stress when you're fasting.
Okay, that makes sense. But sometimes life gets in the way, you know? What if you don't have time to prep?
That's where meal delivery services come in. There are so many options now that are healthy and portion controlled, perfect for IF.
It's like having healthy takeout ready to go.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, how about social stuff? Birthdays, holidays, where there's usually a ton of food. How do you handle that with IF?
It's about communication. Being open with the people you're with, tell them what you're doing, why it matters to you.
You're setting those boundaries, but respectfully.
Right. And maybe bring a dish you can eat. That way you can still enjoy yourself without feeling restricted.
Find those workarounds. Okay, let's be realistic. We all slip up sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody's perfect.
So how do we deal with those setbacks when they happen?
Be kind to yourself. Don't freak out if you miss a window or give in to a craving.
Don't let it derail you, right?
Yeah. Think of it as a learning experience. What happened? What can you do differently next time?
Okay, so it's a chance to adjust your strategy. What about when you just don't feel like doing it?
Those days happen to everyone.
Yeah, like zero motivation.
Go back to your whys. Why are you doing this? What are your goals?
Weight loss, better health, energy, all of that.
Write those down, keep them visible, and actually picture yourself achieving those goals.
Okay, it's about that bigger picture. It's not just skipping meals. It's about something that really matters to you.
Right. That can help you push through those tough moments.
All right, so we've talked about all these different ways to do IF, busted some myths, and now we're getting to the good stuff. How do we actually make this a part of our lives, not just something we try for a week?
Yeah, exactly. Anyone can fast for a day or two, but how do you make it stick? How do you make it a lifestyle change?
That's the million-dollar question. What does our guide say about that?
Well, journaling, again, I know we've mentioned it a few times, but it really is that important
Okay, so why is it so important for making IF sustainable?
because it helps you stay on track. You're tracking your food, your moods, how you're feeling physically, and that gives you these insights into your habits. You start to see patterns.
Right, you see those things that might be sabotaging you, those triggers for cravings, or those times when you're more likely to break your fast.
Exactly. And it's not just about tracking the bad stuff, it's also about celebrating the wins.
Oh, like when you successfully make it through your fasting window.
Yeah. Those little victories, they help you stay motivated.
Okay, so journaling's a big one. What other tools can we use to make IF a habit?
That brush your teeth earlier hack, it's a game changer. Seriously.
I know it sounds so silly, but remind us, why is it so effective?
It's all about creating that mental association. You brush your teeth after your last meal, not right before bed, and that minty fresh feeling, it signals to your brain, okay, we're done eating for the day.
Like a mental stop sign for snacking.
Exactly. And for busy people, planning ahead is key. Our source is all about meal prepping.
Right, taking some time on the weekend to plan and prep your meals for the week.
Exactly. That way you're less likely to cave and grab something unhealthy when you're hungry.
It's all about setting yourself up for success. But what about those times when you just can't meal prep?
Meal delivery services, they're everywhere now, and so many of them focus on healthy, portion-controlled meals.
It's like having a healthy chef on call.
Pretty much. Okay, now let's talk about social events. Birthday parties, holidays, all of that. They can be tricky with IF.
Yeah, because food is usually a big part of those events. How do you navigate that without feeling like you're missing out?
It's all about communication. Be upfront with your friends and family. Tell them what you're doing, why it's important to you.
Set those boundaries, but respectfully.
Right. And maybe even offer to bring a dish that you can eat, something that fits into your eating window.
That way you have something to enjoy and you're not tempted to break your fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, let's be real. We all slip up sometimes.
Oh yeah, life happens.
So don't beat yourself up if you miss an eating window or give in to a craving. It's normal.
It's about progress, not perfection, right?
Exactly. Just see it as a learning experience. What happened? What could you do differently next time?
And use that to strengthen your strategy.
Exactly. Okay, what about those days when motivation just disappears?
Oh, I know those days well. The alarm goes off and you're like, nope, not today.
Those are the times when you have to reconnect with your why. Why are you doing this?
What are those big goals that are driving you?
Write them down. Keep them somewhere you can see them every day. And take a minute to really visualize yourself achieving those goals.
It's about reminding yourself why you started in the first place.
Exactly. And you know, one of the most powerful takeaways from our source is this. Appetite is trainable.
What does that mean for someone just starting out with IF?
It means you have more power over your hunger than you think. Intermittent fasting isn't just a weight loss tool, it's a way to retrain your relationship with food.
So we're breaking free from those cravings and learning to listen to our body's true hunger signals.
Exactly. And as you do IF, you'll probably find that you naturally feel less hungry overall.
It's like resetting those hunger hormones. This has been such an amazing deep dive. I feel like we've learned so much. So to our listeners, what's the one thing we want them to take away from this?
That you have the power to change your relationship with food, improve your health, and achieve your goals.
And that intermittent fasting can be a tool to help you do just that.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about finding what works for you.
It's about progress, not perfection. So, to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of intermittent fasting. We'll see you next time.